Alright, hello, citizens of the Nigerverse. It is Niger here once again. Now, admittedly, I'm only doing this video mainly because I wanted to get some content out. I feel like it's been a little too long since I've done some content. And I think the last one I uploaded was on Monday or Tuesday. It was the AEW Dynasty review. So I wanted to get some, wanted to do some content, and sadly, it's a little too late in the day to do predictions, only because I still have errands to run later on. For now, we're going to do this video. My predictions for WrestleMania, and I guess I can't do stand and deliver because that's already in progress. But at least my predictions for WrestleMania will be coming later on. I'll do a community post because it'll be a lot to type because we have a lot of matches between both nights. Instead, what I'm going to do is I'm going to do just typing out the match and who I think is going to win. I won't go into my explanations this time around. Just typing out who I think is going to win each match. So that's going to be coming on. Admittedly, with what's happened kind of the past couple of days, a little bit awkward, I can't lie, but we're going to do this for today instead. Tomorrow, I'm not sure if I am going to do a video. If I do, I'm probably going to do something related to Easter, maybe some Reddit content because you guys seem to really like that, and also, next week, I'm actually not watching Stand and Deliver today. I'm actually gonna see if I can watch it either tomorrow or sometime before I review it. But pretty much the bottom line is I'm going to be reviewing that as well as WrestleMania 41, and I'm going to do what I always do. That's just kind of treat it as one event. So night one, night two will review at the same time. So that will be coming up later on next week. But in the meantime, let's get into this topic. So for a few years now, WrestleMania has been two nights. It's now Two Night WrestleMania is something that's been divisive among quite a few people. A lot of people like it. A lot of people really don't. A lot of people can't stand that WrestleMania is two nights. Right? But I also understand why they're doing the two-night format, and it's actually potentially for more than one reason. So the first reason was, and I guess kind of the main reason, was COVID. So they started doing the two-night WrestleMania format at WrestleMania 36, and that was mainly because of COVID restrictions. That's when COVID was first coming about. Obviously, man, can you believe that was 5 years ago? That's crazy to think about, but. Because of COVID restrictions, only a certain amount of people were allowed to be in the building at a certain time. Because of that, they had to have some of the talent on the first night and some of the talent on the second night. And this is back when I used to work at a grocery store, if we did have a person limit, they were really lax on enforcing it during that time, but. Nevertheless, so that was the main reason why they started doing the two-night formats. But if I may offer an alternative, there we go. If I may offer, I literally almost did again. If I may offer an alternative, there we go. There's another reason I think they are doing two-night WrestleManias nowadays, and that I think is also and I guess this is maybe this may be a sub reason other than the main reason, that being just starting with COVID and then just kind of carrying it over the next few years. It's to the point where now even SummerSlam is going to be two nights this year and next year as well, and I imagine in years to come if it's successful. But may I suggest an alternative reason for the two-night WrestleMania? That being because of WrestleMania 35. Now, on the surface, you would be like, Nigel, why WrestleMania 35? What happened with WrestleMania 35 to where they would want to do a two-night after it? Well, the answer is WrestleMania 35 was really long. Now, by the time WrestleMania 35 came about, I was in college, so I didn't have to wake up at 5 a.m. for class. I could wake up a little later in the day. I think at that time, my first class wasn't until like 9 or 10 or so. Oh, but that being said, WrestleMania 35 spilled into technically Monday the next day because it happened because it like went past midnight. And between the Hall of Fame, pretty much all that they were doing for WrestleMania weekend, between the Hall of Fame, between NXT Takeover, that was NXT Takeover New York, and then WrestleMania 35 being like 6-7 hours long, or I think like 5 hours, or 6 to 7 if you're counting the pre-show. Oh, because of that absolutely absurd length of time, people were exhausted, and you could hear it in the main event. And now the main event that year was the first ever women's main event. That was Ronda Rousey versus Charlotte Flair versus Becky Lynch, the triple threat. It's not a necessarily bad match. I reviewed it, I believe, last year on the channel. If you haven't already, go check that out. But I reviewed it last year on the channel. Well, and one of the main things I noticed, well, there were two things. The first is Michael Cole's voice was absolutely shot. Like, you could tell his throat was strained after having to call several hours worth of action, just making Michael Cole even more of a trooper. Like, Michael Cole, he's gotten his hate over the years, but in terms of being a reliable hand, and definitely gotta give him his flowers. But the other thing was that the crowd was mostly dead for this match. They popped at some points, but otherwise the crowd was mainly out of it because of how long and exhausting the show was. And from what I remember from WrestleMania 35, not necessarily a bad WrestleMania. Definitely wouldn't put it in the top 10 when it comes to WrestleManias, but definitely wouldn't put it in the bottom 10 either. But definitely went way too long, and the people were worn out by that point, including me watching it from home. I didn't go live. I've never been to a WrestleMania live. I definitely want to do that at some point. I did kind of come close last year in Philly if I was able to afford it, and if I was able to travel there, I definitely would have loved to, but maybe some other time. But I remember watching it at home on the WWE Network. This is before Peacock and everything, and I remember as the main event was about to begin, my Wi-Fi cut out. How my Wi-Fi cut out, it dropped the connection, so I had to try to reconnect it. It was taking a little bit. Sometimes the Wi-Fi disconnects. At least my Wi-Fi does, and so I tried to reconnect it. It wasn't connecting, but I was so tired. I decided, you know what? I'll skip the main events. I'll watch some other time, and eventually I did. It took me about 5 years, but eventually I did watch the main event. But I just remember being so out of it, and I imagine that's probably why WWE decided to stick. Well, one of the reasons why WWE decided to stick to the 2-night format. I imagine COVID probably kind of forced them to, but this reason kind of helped supplement and really helped justify it. Because the last thing you want is for your crowd to get burnt out, especially before the main events. Like even WrestleMania 25 had that problem, and that one was just a case of the main event A, not being great, and B, Shawn Michaels versus Undertaker being as phenomenal as it was, which according to WWE has officially been labeled the greatest WrestleMania match of all time. Now, whether you agree with that or not, that's kind of debatable. Well, honestly, I can see it. Like coming up with a best WrestleMania match of all time, you're gonna get a few different answers. But yeah. So having that long of a show, having your crowd absolutely burnt out, having them be so worn out by that time, definitely not great. Especially with this history-making moment at WrestleMania 35. Like I said, first ever women's main event, and Becky Lynch finally becoming Becky 2 Belt. It's finally reaching kind of that mountaintop that she'd been chasing all that time. And with her resurgence, like late 2018 into early 2019 when she became the man and everything. So then having that match in the main event, but your crowd is not hyped for it because they're tired, because they've been at the show for hours, it wears on you. Even when you work full time at a job, maybe you have an exciting job, maybe the time does feel like it flies by, but sometimes it drags. In fact, I'd say oftentimes it drags. It's just the nature of working a lot of hours, and this was almost like a shift at a job. It was so long, and especially, like I said, with all the other stuff happening over WrestleMania weekend, and especially Takeover and everything, I imagine people probably were exhausted. That's a lot to sit through. That's a lot to experience, and by that time you already got your cheers and stuff out, and it's past midnight. It's technically into Monday. A lot of people gotta be at work and stuff like that. So I think that is one of the other main reasons for the two-night WrestleMania format, and I'd say for the most part, the two-night WrestleMania format has worked out. It allows WWE to really fill up both nights on the card, especially this year, having like 7 matches for each night, way more than their normal pay-per-view / premium live events. And so having them really stack the card and overload it across both nights, so that both nights get a little something, I think works really well in that regard. And you definitely don't want another situation where it's past midnight, almost at like 1 in the morning, and people are like, I have been here for hours, I am exhausted, I am done. So I think, like I said, I think COVID really forced their hand, but then having the dilemma of what happened at WrestleMania 35 really, I would say, influenced their decision even more. But that's kind of speculation on my part. Obviously, I don't have anything concrete in hand, so that's more so speculative on my part, but that's what we like to do sometimes on the channel. We like to speculate and come to the reasons why. But that is going to do it for this video. Thank you all so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed. Like I said, not quite what I wanted to do for the day, but I hope you still enjoyed nevertheless. If you did, please do me a favor, like, comment, subscribe, share with your friends, and turn on post notifications so you know every time I upload a video, so you never miss an upload. And let me know in the comments below, what are your thoughts? Do you think that might be one of the main reasons why we have a two-night WrestleMania, and do you prefer the two-night WrestleMania? And I kind of talked about it a couple of years ago on the channel, kind of the one-night versus two-night WrestleMania discussion. And I think for the most part, having 2 nights has been a net positive. I would say, hey, both shows still can sometimes run kind of long, but I think having it being kind of divvied up and broken up across both nights, I think has really helped for the most part. Or maybe not in terms of like ticket prices and everything, because I think you still have to pay for both nights, and they do run pretty expensive, which is the issue WWE has been running into, especially this year, among others. But that's kind of my thoughts. Let me know what your thoughts are in the comments below. But in the meantime, thank you all so much for watching. I'll see you guys later. Peace. I wasn't sure what I was doing there. But I'll see you guys later. Peace.